And we'll share the screen. Just a minute. We don't want
35 people are on. Yeah.
and I'm going to ask everybody in a minute to, let's see, new share. We need a new share, new share. Okay. Oh, new share. Okay, let's try again. New share. There we go. This is going to work just great now. Okay, so here we are. Yeah, we are 38 people, and I'm going to ask you all to mute since I'm apparently also the host and also the person in charge here. And I therefore want to welcome you to this evening. And I will introduce myself, and there will be a time for questions. In about a half hour. Feel free to write your questions as we're going along. I'm not going to look at the chat until I'm finished talking, more or less, because it will be distracting to me. And I was asked to handle my own questions and answers, which is okay. And what we're here to talk about today is coping in the face of uncertainty and stress. So my name is Naomi Baum, as you see. And I'm a psychologist. I've been living in Israel since 1987. And actually, before that, I also lived in Israel 4 years. In the 70s, I lived in Israel. Important. I was here during the Yom Kippur War. And I live in Efrat. I'm zooming into you straight from Efrat. And I've been a psychologist for forever, long before I moved to Israel. I was an educational psychologist. I ran a Sherut Psychologi here in Gush Etzion, and I've been in the field of trauma and resilience building for the last more than 20 years, since really the second Intifada, since about 2001. That has been my expertise. So this is a field that I'm very familiar with. And what I want to share with you tonight is some of what I know and some of what I have learned over the years. And hopefully it will be of use to you during these very, very difficult times. And I want to underscore and emphasize that these are very, very difficult times. And they're not over. They're not over. It's ongoing, and it's hard for all of us. On a personal level, I have sons in the Army. I have a son serving in the South on the front lines, a son-in-law in the North on the front lines, son-in-law running all over somewhere. We don't know, but it's Kravi, and a son who's protecting his home and the homes of his community in Tekoa. So we're definitely very invested in what's going on. And yes, my stomach is often in knots. Yes, it is. And I will share that with you too. So this is really both. Mostly I'm coming with my professional hat, but one of the things that happens in Israel is professional and personal become intertwined. And that's really my first slide today. This is a slide where very often when I start a talk, and I do a lot of public speaking, this is the slide where I'll say, and now let's just take a moment and breathe, because it's really for me, because I need to breathe, calm myself down, remind myself that I know what I want to say. But I find that in the last week and a half, it's very hard for me to breathe. I'm tight, I'm closed, I'm tense. I feel it in my neck, I feel it in my shoulders, I feel it in my chest. And last week, as a matter of fact, when I looked at this slide, I said to myself, you got to be kidding. You're going to breathe. You're actually going to breathe. And so what this slide has morphed into for me over the last 10 days, and things are always changing and they're dynamic. And that's one of the things we're learning now, is that we're really learning toch kidei. As we move, we are learning. We're moving, we're learning as we move. This is a situation that we're not familiar with. We never had 199 kidnapped civilians. We never had that. We never had the invasion and the brutality ever that we experienced last week ago, Shabbat. This is new. So what we need to do, what I need to do, what you need to do, and again, I'm as much a participant as you are. I may have the professional knowledge and I come to you with that hat tonight, but I'm also a person. I'm also a citizen. I'm also a mother and a grandmother. I have a grandson who's a soldier too. Fortunately, he was just drafted and he's somewhere, I think, safe on his basis, working in the kitchen. I'm as much a participant as you. And what we need to do is check in and take a moment. And what I would ask you to do is check in with yourselves. How are you doing right this moment? Not how are you doing a week ago, 10 days ago, yesterday. How are you right now, tonight, 8:30, whatever, 8:40, whatever. And what time is it? I don't even know. 8:40 or so, 8:42. How are you doing right now on what night is it tonight? Monday night, I think. Monday night. That's one of the signs of stress, that you're a little confused. You don't know where you are, what day it is, what time it is. How are you doing right now? What's your level of stress? How much stress are you feeling? Take a look at your body. Where are the knots? Do you have any knots? Do you feel tension in your body? Where do you feel it? Just notice. You can do a quick scan from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, just really quickly, and kind of take a look in and see what's going on. Check in. I call this in Hebrew, check in. So you guys speak English. You understand what check-in is. Do a check-in. See how you're doing. And now what I'd like you to do is give it a number. Okay, so from us on a scale of 1 to 10, send me in your number. What's your number? With 1 being very low stress and 10 being extreme stress. What would you say your number is right now? Not what it was a week ago, not earlier today, right this moment. And I'm going to take a sip of my hot drink so that I can keep talking. So just send in your numbers and we'll take a look at them. 5, 7, 8.5, 9, 9, 7. If I had to guess, by the way, I was supposed to give my guess before. I would say most of you are above 5. Most of us are above 5. 7, 6. There may be somebody lower than 5. It's okay to be lower than 5. But those of you who are above 5 are in good company, I would say. As a matter of fact, very good company. Okay. 7, 7. You see what good company you're all in? Okay, so we get a feeling. We definitely get a feeling of how we're doing. Now, there's some nice programs I could have sent you to, but that would have taken too long. And then we could have gotten a nice average with a standard deviation, but I think the average would be about 7 with a standard deviation of maybe 1 or 2. So that's how we're doing. We're around 7. Some of us are 8 or 9. Some of us are 6. There might have been a 3 or 2 in there that I didn't see, that I missed, and apologies if I did. So what is going on? So we're going to talk just for a few moments about stress. And I'm sure a lot of you know this, that the normal stress response is when you're experiencing extreme stress, it's fight, flight, or freeze. And what we're talking about when we're talking about extreme stress, we're talking about what comes outside, what pierces that window of tolerance. So if we talk about a window of tolerance, and maybe we would say that the lower line is about 1.5 or 2, and the upper line is maybe 8 or 9. So most of us, most of the time, we're kind of in between. We're within that window. Sometimes we experience more stress, sometimes we experience less stress. Sometimes we've got lots of things going on in our lives where, it's Friday afternoon and the laundry is still piled high and we haven't cooked for Shabbos and we don't know exactly who's coming and forgot to pay the bills and I got a parking ticket and on and on and on and on and on, all the regular stresses. We could be high, we could be 7 or 8, we could lose it, we could yell at our spouses, yell at our kids, show agitation, maybe even a little bit of anxiety or a lot of anxiety. And that would be normal in the course of everyday life, okay? Other people, when they're super stressed, what they do is they just shut down. They absolutely shut down. They freeze, they become numb. All they want to do is crawl into bed. They start to move really slowly. People are different. Different people are different. And that's one thing that we really have to take into account in this period of time is that there's not a right and a wrong way of reacting. Different people are different, and we need to respect those differences. We need to understand that, I may be emoting a lot and telling people how anxious I am and having trouble settling down, and my spouse is like quiet, tuned out, cold, doesn't want to communicate. People are different. So that was just one short word about stress and stress reactions. And the other thing I want to say that I don't really have a slide for tonight is that you might have noticed over the course of the last 10 days that there's been a change in yourself as well. So in the immediate period when this all befell us on Simchat Torah, and the day or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 afterwards, you might have experienced a lot of symptoms, and this would be really normal. Acute stress reaction, that's the psychological term. You might be having trouble sleeping, trouble eating, trouble concentrating, have intrusive thoughts, intrusive pictures come into your mind because many of us saw films or saw pictures. This would all be normal response, normal kind of reaction to acute stress. And then as the days progress, we're beginning to remember who we are, where we are, what kinds of things constitute our routine, what we usually do, what we like to do. Maybe we're starting to eat regular meals. Maybe our bedtimes have returned. Maybe we're watching a little bit less news and media, and that's something that I would certainly highly recommend. And that's moving into this new phase. And this is the new phase of long-term ongoing stress that we don't know how long it's going to last, but we do know that it impacts us too. So that some of us may continue having trouble sleeping. Others may be starting to sleep a little bit better. Some of us may have remembered that it's time to start exercising. I would love to get a show of hands, but I don't have, let's see if I can make a bigger screen where I could see more people with cameras open. Can I see people? You know what I'm going to have to do to see people with cameras open? I'm going to have to do something here because I want to see a show of hands. So only those with, I'm going to hide. Hold on. Where is it? I can't find it. All right. So those of you who have your cameras open, bear with me. How many of you have started exercising again? Just raise your hand. A few. And I see somebody shaking their head. No, let's see if we have picked everybody else's screen off. Why can't you have your screens on? Do you know how much nicer it is to talk to people who have their faces in the screen? Much, much nicer. So if you can do that, I don't mind if you're in your pajamas. I really don't, but I would love to see you. It makes it much easier to talk to. So anyways, some of you have gone back to exercising, and that's great. And some of you have probably returned to a certain amount of routine, and that's great. And some of you are really still having really severe stress reactions, and that's okay too. That is pretty normal too. So stress-o-meter we did, and now what we want to do is talk a little bit about what can help us at this moment. So what can help you? Think about it. We all know that there are things that we do normally when we're feeling stressed. Maybe some of us go and get a massage. Maybe we kind of listen to music. Maybe we hunker down with a book. Maybe we talk to a friend. What do we do? What are the things that we do? So I want you to think for a moment. What do you do? Yes. What do you do when we'll talk about it in a minute. I'll let you write in the chat in a minute. I'm not going to get distracted right yet, but I want to talk about the things that we know. There is sound psychological research, really sound research about what helps. So first and foremost is support. And hang on a second, I just want to mute everybody again. Just 1 second. Sometimes that happens. Somebody becomes unmuted and it gets noisy. Okay, so support. What you guys are doing here, what your shul is doing for you, is doing just that. Having this meeting this evening, seeing everybody's names on the screen, seeing that I'm not alone, that a lot of my friends are here tonight listening. That's support. We have support networks, we have friends, we have family, we have community. Now, it is true that when you come in Aliyah and you come from, let's say, an English-speaking country, whether it be the US or Great Britain or Australia or South Africa or wherever it is that you're from, or maybe even you're from a non-English-speaking country, your support networks may be a little bit smaller. You have less family here. You're dealing with family abroad who is super stressed, and what you need to do is calm them down. It is true that your support networks are different, a little bit different, but you can create, and I know that you have created support networks here. I know that you really have, and it's important to remember that that is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, is reach out, be supportive of other people, find new olim who need support, reach out to family members, talk to people, not be alone with this. That is super, super helpful. Number 2 on the what do we do to help ourselves list is pay attention to your body. Now, you might think, wow, what does that mean? Pay attention to your body. Why is my body important here? But everything that we know about stress and trauma teaches us that we hold it in our bodies. And one very important way to approach trauma treatment and help for people who are experiencing stress is to help them release it through your bodies. So there is a reason why I asked you about exercise. Exercise is a wonderful way to release stress. So if you normally walk or you run or you bike, if you can get back to doing that, that is a great idea. Now, if you're too anxious to do that because you're worried that there might be an azakah, there may be a siren, okay, think about what you can do inside your house to release your stress. Is it taking a hot bath? Is it putting on loud music and dancing or shaking? Maybe dust off that walker or exercise machine or bicycle that you haven't used in forever. Maybe now's the time to wipe it off, wipe off the dust and get on it. But pay attention to your body and move it. Move your body. So important to pay attention to it. Now, there are people who release their stress by doing meditation, and that's wonderful if you can do that. Many people find it difficult to sit quietly and breathe when they're feeling so anxious, particularly if they're not used to it. Other people do yoga. I myself do Qigong. I'm a Qigong teacher. I teach Qigong on Zoom. I'm happy to share my link with you. I teach for free. I don't charge anything. Public service that I started during Corona and I kept going. So I teach twice a week and have lots of videos. That is movement, meditative movement based on the principles of Chinese medicine. For me, that's what I do, to listen to my body, to take care of it. Now, you see, it doesn't always work completely. I have this terrible cold, maybe Corona, I don't know. But I believe that's kind of the way my body also responded to the severe stress of last week. And so what do? I say to myself, okay, you got to start paying attention again. You got to take care. And we all have to take care of ourselves. And it's okay. Sometimes we think, and many of us here may be wrapped up in a lot of volunteer activities and busy, busy, busy. And busy is good. We're going to talk about that on the next 2 slides. But even with being busy, we have to pay attention to ourselves. And I'm going to repeat it again because we're in this for the long term. This isn't a short-term adventure. This isn't a single event trauma. This is ongoing high-level stress. Third thing that helps is routine. And I kind of alluded to that before, that getting back to routine, we may see ourselves starting to get back to routine, but here's my opportunity to tell you how important routine is and why is routine so important. It gives us a sense of control and a sense of security. We're in a situation right now that is so out of control, so out of our control, and is so uncertain. Those are the 2 features of it that are so dominant and that cause the stress. So whatever we can do to return a semblance of control into our own lives, and I say a semblance because we know we're not really in control. We're never in control, right? But we like to think that we are. And what helps us feel like we're in control is routine. So that I know I get up at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning, and I know the things that I usually do in the morning, whether it be daven or exercise or daf yomi or call my children or whatever it is that I do. Do those things, start returning to them. I have my breakfast, return to regular meal times. Return to the normal things that you can do as much as possible and allow yourself to do them. Even if they feel good and they're nice, it's okay to do things that are nice for yourself. One of the things that I've been hearing these last couple of days is that, wow, I haven't given myself permission to listen to music, to watch a film on Netflix, to read a book. I haven't allowed myself to do that because how could I do that when there are our people in Gaza? How can I do that when our soldiers are on the front? But what I'm telling you is really, you have to do that if you're going to continue being sane in the long run. You have to take care of yourself, and taking care of yourself means also being nice to yourself. So routine gives a sense of security, gives us a sense of control. It's good for us. So try to get back to your routine, whatever it is. And then I probably don't have to tell your community how important activity is, and meaningful activity and volunteerism. And we've seen this amazing, wonderful outpouring in Israel. And it really is wonderful. And I can tell you that being busy, being active is a wonderful way to deal with the stress. You know, in the first couple that you and I have all seen all these huge lists of things that the soldiers need, that they want, the food and the sandwiches and the boxers and the socks and my son came home to visit today, the one who is in the South. They gave him a 24-hour leave. And he said, he was laughing. He said, in his base where he is, they have what they call the canyon, and they go shopping in the canyon. the amount of stuff that's been coming in is incredible, and it's all very nice, and it makes them feel very good. And then you get the other side that says, do they really need it? Where's the army? How come they're not providing? Well, the army doesn't provide 3 telephone chargers per chayal, and the army doesn't provide boxers, sug aleph, 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 boxers that my son never in his life ever had. They don't. But now he is the proud recipient, and thank God for that. So anyways, back to activity and volunteering, really helpful for us. Obviously, we're doing good for other people. And activity per se is good. Meaningful activity is great. So if you're volunteering, keep it up. Again, pay attention to yourselves as well. You may need to cut back and not do it 24/7. You may wear down doing that. You may need to cut back a little bit and pay a little bit more attention to yourself and your family. But it's certainly a wonderful way to deal with stress. And now I got to close you guys out so I can see what my next slide says. My next slide says, what does not help? So it's kind of the opposite. I think you could figure it out. And I'm not even going to read it to you. You can read it to yourselves. What doesn't help? But what I am going to talk about is watching news and media. So I think probably all of us watched far too much in the first couple days. And now maybe it's time to rethink and cut back and think how much we really need to see and how much we really need to watch and how good or bad it's doing for us. We know there are really excellent studies that show that the more you are exposed to difficult scenes, and there were certainly terrible, terrible scenes that were on television, were on foreign television much more than on Israel television, were all over social media. There were terrible things. It affects us. People get traumatized. It's called secondary traumatization, but it looks exactly like post-trauma. People do get traumatized from watching terrible things on the media. So be careful with what you expose yourself to. Think about cutting back, watching less, listening less. Yes, you want to get updated. Yes, you want to know what's happening a few times a day, but how many times a day? How much do you really need to watch? And what's the best way to get it? So I'm on this WhatsApp group now that sends out updates 3 times a day, 3 news updates a day. To tell you that's the only thing I'm doing, no, but it really has helped me cut back. I still listen to news reports a couple times a day. Once in a while, I'll turn on the TV. But when you're so busy, you really don't have time to watch all day, and that's a good thing. But I know that watching less is good for my mental health. So that's highly recommended. And we've talked already a lot about control and lack of control and what's in our control, what's not in our control. Here's a nice slide that it's sorry, I forgot it's in Hebrew but think about the things that are in your control, how much TV you watch, what social media you look at, when you volunteer, how much you volunteer. Think about the things that are not in your control. When is Tzahal going to go into Gaza? We don't know. Is there going to be in the war in the north? We don't know. We don't control those things. But there are things that we do control. And let's talk for a moment about kids. I'm sure many of you have kids or grandkids. And 2 things I want to say. When we talk about kids, there is the developmental perspective. We have to remember that different kids of different ages need different things from us. All kids need parents, and all kids need parents that can regulate their emotions. So you may be anxious. How do you calm yourself down? You want to give your child a sense of calm. The best way to do it is for you to calm yourself down. So when people ask me for tips, in Hebrew, the word is kelim. Tnu lanu kelim. The best kli, the best instrument for you to help your kid is to help yourself. There's a beautiful Medrash Rabbah to the Pasuk from Tehillim קכ"א, אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. שיר למעלות, אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם השם, עושה שמיים וארץ. I'm sure you all know that. So the Medrash Rabbah, long time ago, does a little play on words, and he says, שיר למעלות, אשא עיניי אל ההורים. I lift my eyes up to the parents, to my parents who have raised me, who have taught me. And we know that kids look up to their parents. So super important. And there's a picture there of this workbook called Inner Space. It's brand new that I wrote together with my colleague from OHEL in New York. It's a resilience workbook in English now as we speak. The Hebrew translation is almost finished. It will be uploaded to the OHEL website. You can download it, and we will be printing it in Israel in the next couple of days, and we can talk about how maybe we can get copies out to Raanana for kids ages 5 to 10 to help build their fortitude, their resilience, their coping skills. And what it focuses on is talking about emotions, talking about feelings, and actually doing things. What can you do to help yourself cope? Kind of a kid's version of this PowerPoint. And the second point I want to make is about teens and screens. So we mentioned a little bit about media and screens, and we know kids have been highly exposed, and we don't control our teenagers' screens, but we need to be talking to them. We need to open communication, talk with them about what they've seen, talk with them about how it may be affecting them, whether they're thinking about it, what questions they have. Talk about it. Just open up the lines of communication with them. Don't ignore it. And then I want to talk for just a moment about how we cope. I think we've given lots and lots of coping ideas. So there's this great model that I really don't want to spend too much time talking about. It's called Basic pH in English. In Hebrew, it's called Gesher Ma'ached. And what it does is it really doesn't teach us really new ways of coping, but it reminds us that there are lots of different ways to cope. People cope differently. Somebody likes gardening. Somebody else hates gardening. Somebody likes to bicycle ride. Somebody else hates bicycle riding. We choose the things that are good for us, and they fall under at least, if not more than 6 categories, including belief, which would include things like davening and Tehillim, and also things that I tell myself. Affect, the ability to express emotions and talk about emotions, maybe write them, sing them. Social, reaching out to friends and family. Imagination, going out to nature. Humor, cognition. What kinds of things do I tell myself? How do I think about things? How do I problem solve? How do I make lists and think? And the physical, which we've spent a lot of time talking about. So I want to ask you, and I'm inviting you to write in the chat, what do you do to help yourselves cope? What kinds of things do you do? And the more things that we can see that people do, the more we may actually learn and take it in. Understand that, whoa, maybe that's a great idea. I haven't tried that. Didn't think about that. Can learn about that. So let's take a look at some of your chat ideas. And with that, I think, is this my last? Quick. Before I look at the chat ideas, I want to just give a quick summary to say what we want to do is to stay active, find support, pay attention to yourselves. Wait a minute, I got to see this. What did I write? You think I can remember? Pay attention to your physical body, try to maintain some routine, self-compassion. We haven't mentioned that. Super important. Many of us have really wonderful inner critics. We put ourselves down. We tell ourselves we're not beseder. We should be doing more. We should do this. How could you do that? Why are you like this? Why are you like that? We got to go easy, a little bit easier on ourselves. We are in a tough time. Let's be nice to ourselves, just like you would be nice to your friend if she was going through a tough time, or your neighbor. You would have nice things to say to your neighbor if he was going through a tough time. say them to yourselves. Be nice to yourselves. That is called self-compassion. And we need a lot of that. We need compassion for people around us, but we also need compassion for ourselves. And before we breathe and ask lots of questions, let's see, I'm going to put on my glasses, which cause a very nice glare on the Zoom screen to see some of the things that you have said. Whoa, good. Bake cookies, excellent. Cooking, sewing, knitting, cooking, volunteering, knitting, sewing, working, baking, mahjong, terrific, Tehillim, breathe. Super. You got it. You got it. Yeah, I find that cooking is very calming for me. You know, other people don't, but for me, if I cook, if I'm in my kitchen, it grounds me. So you've come up with some good ideas. I'm sure there'll be some other excellent ideas of things that you can do. Feel free to just throw them on the board and we can hear from you. And what I'd like to do is, before we breathe, I'd like to open it up for questions. Let me just see. I'm going to stop the share so I can see you all better. And feel free to open up your microphones. We are 42 people, so we have quite a few people here. But I'm assuming that you're not all going to jump. So whoever wants to, just open up your mic and ask me a question or a free consultation, or some sharing, anything. Question, share, whatever, comment. I'd love to hear from you.
I could see everybody here. I'm trying to see everybody. I don't see anything.
We see you. So would you like to share with us? Would you like to say something?
No.
No?
I don't.
Okay.
Okay. So, I don't have any children or son-in-laws or anybody in the army,
Right.
but I do feel for everyone.
Yeah.
I cooking and not baking. I'm cooking and making things to send to the soldiers. I just feel like I have to be part of everything, and my heart goes out to everybody, and we're just there to help.
Okay. So that's an example of using that nervous energy, that feeling that I got to do something and finding a place to do it. And that's a wonderful thing. And I'm sure that helps you. I'm sure that helps you to feel like that you're
Tomorrow,
part of things and that you are active and doing something important.
like I made a list of the Shiva houses for tomorrow. That's my mission for tomorrow,
Mhm.
because I think that a lot of people are doing the cooking and everything. So I'll just leave it to the people who are really excited about doing it. So I'm moving on to something else.
Terrific, terrific, terrific. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Okay, that was a surprise, right? You weren't expecting to talk.
No.
Let's see. Let's see who would like to ask a question or comment or share.
Hi, Karen Last speaking.
Yeah.
First, Naomi, I want to thank you for bringing us to be more aware of ourselves and giving us the time to speak, giving your time to speak to all of us here in Ohel Ari and Raanana. I'm sure you know, and I don't think we are unique, but I think we are unique. We have a fantastic, amazing community with resources that seem to be far-reaching all over the world. And we are strong with that. But as you say, everybody has their limits or their breaking points. And I really want to thank you for being able to tell us how to deal with them. One of the things that I find that I'm upset with myself is that I don't really know, as someone who made Aliyah 12 years ago, I don't really know how to relate to my friends from abroad. And I also think that they're afraid to, except for my one or two really good friends that I yak with all the time, how to mityaches to the others. They they have no idea. Just as when I lived abroad and my family was here, I was so oblivious.
Yeah.
We we still have one daughter living in London, and she's not part of a lot of things, and thank God she's not part of this. But there's a big disconnect. Do you have any advice for all of us with
Yeah.
friends and
Yeah.
family abroad on
Yeah.
how do we make them feel, or maybe they don't want to feel it? I don't know what the answer is really.
It's really a dilemma because, family and friends, they reach out. And sometimes I can tell you, I left the States much longer ago than you did. Sometimes I find it like annoying, like annoying. And it takes me a day or two to answer. And sometimes I just say thanks. And sometimes I write like a lot. So it really, I find it my mood and my attitude towards people abroad is very variable. Sometimes it's impatient. I'm impatient, like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for you. You don't understand. You're not here. You're not. I know your hearts are with us. I know you want to be here, but I have limits to my empathy, and my empathy is going now to the people who are here.
Mm.
So, I don't really have a lot of good advice about how we interact with our friends and family in the States. I think if we stop and think about it, we know that they are super worried and super concerned. And probably the more we, can be sort of matter of fact and let them know what's going on and share a little bit, it's probably better for them, probably better for us too. But understand that we might not always have the patience, and that's where the self-compassion comes in. And I think that's kind of my take on that.
Thank you.
So there was another question.
Yeah.
Diane.
It's not a question. I just thought I'd contribute a little bit. So I
Yeah.
made Aliyah 7 months ago.
Yeah.
And so I often daily ask myself, what am I doing here? Because I'm in between in terms of social connections. I've met lovely
Sure.
people here, but my friends of 40 years or 50 years are in the States.
Sure.
So I've actually started writing a periodic blog and sending it to all of my friends, so I don't have to keep repeating the same stuff over and over and over again when they ask. They just all get it, and they respond to me however they respond to me, or they don't. But I find that kind of works for me because I need to keep in touch with all of them because they are my support system.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So
I had cancer about 12 years ago, and I did that.
mhm.
Because you get tired of saying the same thing, but it's funny. I didn't even think about now doing that. Like, I just didn't think about it. But I'm thinking even we have a large family. Even here we have a large
Mhm.
family. We have 7 children, and our energies are going in so many places that I don't even know, like, half the time what some of my kids are doing. Usually I know what they're up to, but I don't even know what they're up to these days on a daily basis. So, maybe we all have WhatsApps, but
Yeah.
maybe
We have that. We have a family WhatsApp.
right. But maybe
where
even
we just
writing like once a day, like
Mhm.
this was my day, and sharing even with them
Mhm.
is an interesting idea. But this is, it's interesting because, like I said, we're learning as we're moving. I can't think of the expression in English now, but it's ככה, אנחנו לומדים תוך כדי תנועה. We're learning as we're moving. That's really what it is. And this is part of it, trying to figure out how I communicate with the people abroad, or how do I communicate with the people in Israel, or how do I communicate at all?
How do you use social media to be helpful and supportive instead of just whatever else it can
Right,
be?
bombarding. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Any other comments or sharing? That's very helpful, really, I think, to share from your own experiences and what's helping you and what you're doing. And I think it's really helpful to all of us. So feel free to jump in with a question or a comment. Yeah, go
Hi,
ahead.
I've got something. I'm Linda. everybody's telling me I'm in a constant state of worry. Everybody's telling me don't look at the news all the time. I'm on every Telegram channel. I'm on a Gaza Telegram channel. I can't not look. I can't stop myself. I
Would
spoke to
you,
somebody today who was very anxious, and she said she'd deleted everything. She'd got rid of all her apps, all her news apps from the phone. I can't do this. I can't stop looking. If I haven't looked in 5 minutes, I feel like
right,
I'm missing out. Something might have happened. I don't know about it. Can't
right.
stop. If anybody can,
Well, the question is, do you want to stop it? I mean, I think that's the question. Do you want to? So you heard about your friend who said that's what she did, and she did it pretty extreme. And what you could do, is remove some of them. Okay. So you could remove, I don't know. I don't know what you're on. Can you mention Telegram and some news channels? Remove some of them, and see what that's like. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you necessarily have to go cold turkey, or you can
right.
say to yourself, I'm gonna look at 9 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, at three
Boy,
o'clock, at 6 o'clock. I mean,
yeah.
you can try different things and see what works for you. If you feel like it's taking over your life and it's making you highly anxious, which I would assume that it does, then see how you can begin to cut back. And it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly how your friend did it, cold turkey, but I would try to consider, how can I look a little bit less? And maybe not only think about that, but what you could do instead. What could you be doing that would be more useful or meaningful instead? What else could you become involved with that could take your mind off of it a little bit?
We'll try. Thank you.
Okay.
I,
Thanks
I
for sharing.
sorry,
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
Naomi, I've got a question. I'm
Yeah.
Susan Fisher.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much. It's been so useful so far. Um, for those of us who have sons and sometimes daughters out there,
Yeah.
what do you do at the end of the day when you've been busy all day, you've been volunteering and working and cooking and sewing and knitting and doing whatever you do, and having the benefit of this amazing Kehilat. But then it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and the day's come to an end, and perhaps you haven't heard from all the kids that day. And then the intrusive thoughts come in.
Totally.
Is that, I know there are no simple solutions, but
No.
what do you do with yourself then? Do you work on your logic? Do you distract yourself? Do you take a warm shower? What do you do?
I think you had very good answers, because there's no simple answer. And you see, when you talk, what comes up for me. And the point is that that's the way it is for everybody. We're all in this, and there's no magic. There is no magic. So you know yourself, sometimes you're able to talk yourself out of it, and sometimes you're able to distract yourself and put on something on TV. Sometimes you take a shower, and sometimes you just like bite your nails or talk to your friend, and that's the way it is. There's just not, there's no magic whatever. And it's hard. It's damn hard. And I think sharing, like being with other people who know exactly what you mean. So, I hear you and I say, yeah, I really get it. And she really gets it. And we're in this together. There's something helpful about that too.
It really is. I mean, anybody in the community wants to reach out to me, whatever time it is. I'm sure we can all reach out to each other. People who know me, people who don't know me. It's helpful to know that we're all going through it together.
Right. Now, it's true, you could argue, well, what good is it that you opened this up and you got me going? So like, well, did I do any good? But it's okay. I'm there anyways. We're all there anyways. And if I wasn't there and I didn't want to talk to you, so I wouldn't talk to you, if I was in your community. But yeah, I think yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Yeah.
And
I
Thank
really
you. Thank you for
appreciate.
sharing that. I
Oh,
really
sorry.
appreciate you bringing that up, Susan. Yeah.
Feeling a bit bad now, but whatever.
Don't feel bad.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Can
Go
I say
ahead.
something?
Yeah.
I'm Anne. To Susan, two things that I've done, which make me feel better, regarding all the close family that I have abroad. I opened up a WhatsApp group called Caring and Sharing so that I don't have to write to everybody. And I try to write on that every day, if not every day, every other day. And then either they write back on the post or they write to me privately, but I feel that I'm not forgetting to update anybody, which make me feel a lot better. And another thing that I do, I don't know if it would help you, Susan, is in the morning and in the evening, I just send out to my boys, thinking of you, have a quiet night. And all I need back from them is a thumbs up or a heart or whatever it is. And then I can either go to sleep or begin my day. Just knowing that I've checked in with them, because we can't drive them mad and they're too busy and they've got other things. But that's what keeps me going.
I've
Right.
never been so happy than to see one of those little hearts
Yeah, but the question is, what happens when you don't see one?
when you don't see it.
Then I try and say to myself, well, if I wake up in the middle of the night, then I'll see something.
Yes,
And then I'll know that he's
you
seen
have to
it.
tell yourself that. Yeah.
Because sometimes he's off and there's only one
Right.
V.
And
So it
sometimes
hasn't
their
gone
phones
through.
are off. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Okay.
I do find myself saying to myself, when I start to get nervous, like, ooh, is my mamad, my miklat strong enough? Do I have to lock the door? Do I have a window on the other side that opens? Or I've got some of my daughters living now, moved back in with me because their husbands are in the army. And I say to myself, don't go to that place. I can't go to
Right.
that place now.
Right.
Because it's like you said earlier, Naomi, it's not in my control. And
Right.
I
And
do
if you're
say to
able,
my children,
shutting down your thoughts is if you can do it. And sometimes we can, even with the kids, even with the boys and the girls in the army, sometimes we can shut our thoughts and sometimes we can't, so if you can, that's great. That's great. That's a great way to deal with it. I'm not going to think about it now. Let it go, distract, do something else. A great way to do it. If you can, when you can, do it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Something that helps me, I
Yeah.
wanted to say, I'm Annette. Something that helps me is at night, before I go to sleep, I try to think of 5 things that I'm grateful for. And that just helps me because it puts me in a more positive state of mind.
Yeah.
And then it cuts off that worry thing.
That's great.
For
That's
me,
great.
that works.
It's great. There's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful studies that show that people who actually write out the things that they're grateful for. You may think them, and that's great, and it works for you and perfect. If you write it out, it's even stronger. And 3 things. Yeah, I mean, you could do 5. That's great. You could do 10, but 3, minimum 3 things that you're grateful for. The incredible studies that show that people are less depressed, less anxious, have better relationships, and it goes on and on and on. Just that simple act
Exercise.
of acknowledging what I'm grateful for. Gratefulness. Yeah, they're beautiful studies about that. Thank you for adding that. Yeah.
I just want to say, I'm Adina. I just want to say what I'm coping with. When I'm really upset, I look at videos of my grandchildren. It's videos of them just doing stupid, ridiculous things, like my 1-year-old saying Shana Tova when she's totally stark naked running around the house. And I'll play it. It's 12 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. I'll play it over and over again until I know, okay, I've smiled, like my mind's on something else for a few seconds, and it helps. It helps just.
Terrific. We gotta find the things that help us. That's exactly what I'm saying. And to feel good about that, not to feel like, oh, how could I be laughing or smiling or feeling good or enjoying my cup of coffee or enjoying my chat with my friend when XYZ is happening. So let's see, we have about 2 minutes left. What I'd like to do is I'm gonna share my screen again and go to this last slide, and this kind of relates to what I can't remember what your name is, I'm sorry, said about, oh, here you are, Annette, said about gratefulness. What I want you to do is just take one hand over the other. For some reason, this seems, for me, this works good. It may not work for you. Like I said, you got to try. You got to figure out. Each person tries what works for them. One hand over the other, and just feel your hands on your heart. It kind of grounds you. It makes you feel like, okay, I'm here. And just take a breath. You can keep your eyes opened or closed, whatever feels good for you. And take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And in through your nose, out through your mouth. And very often a feeling of gratefulness comes up as you have your hands on your heart and you're breathing into your heart. So allow those feelings to come up and think about the things that you're grateful for. And with that, I think we will close. And again, I put a couple of resources on here. If you have questions that we didn't get to, you can feel free to email me. This workbook is available at this website, which is ohelfamily.org resources. And it's going to be available in Hebrew, mamash, any day now. We're going to be printing it and hopefully starting distribution of it soon, very soon here in Israel. So keep posted. It's a nice workbook to work with kids on resilience and to figure out ways to talk with them about things that are going on.
Can I just
So,
say one last thing, if possible? First of all, this exercises breathing was amazing. And Annette, you're the one who said that you do the 5 things a day. And I just realized as you said it, that I have been doing that for like a year and a half. And I have not in the last 10 days actually been aware of the fact that I haven't even said what I've been grateful for. So thank you for bringing that back into my conscious. And Naomi, thank you for this Zoom and this breathing exercise. All of a sudden it just, okay, yeah, I said, now with each breath I took in something I was grateful for. So
wonderful, wonderful. And it's a really simple one to remember. You just put one hand over the other, in through the nose, out through the mouth. So if any of you are, the other thing is, feel free to email me. I didn't post the Qigong. If any of you are interested in the Qigong, just email me and I'll send you a link to join us in one of the classes that I teach. You're absolutely welcome. And as I said, there's no cost. So give it a try.
Naomi, on behalf of all of us at Ohel Ari and those who participated and those who will be able to spread your word to those who didn't participate, we want to thank you very much.
My pleasure.
It's been a very nice way to end the evening, and hopefully everybody will go to bed a lot calmer. And Linda, turn off the news.
Thank you, Naomi.
A pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting
Thank
with you.
you,
Thank
Karen,
you
for organizing.
Thank you for your attention and participation. Be well. And besorot tovot. We should all have besorot tovot. Thank you. Bye-bye.